what is a good rule of thumb for a founders on which type of funding mechanism or funding pool to pick in which situation, right? Whether traditional equity or alternate funding, quasi-equity, when he should pick up what?
So Shreya, सबसे पहले तो मैं आपको and to all the listeners, all aspiring founders, I'm going to request one thing. Go and just Google search. The most simple, basic thing that a kid would also do, right? Go Google search and write what are the types of fundraising.
Right.
सबसे पहले तो यार, let's bust this myth that funding and investment is only equity driven.
True.
You actually type this in Google and you'll get the answer. The two types of fundraising are, or funding are, equity and quasi-equity. Right? Because it's so important to remember that all types of capital you raise has to be returned. There's no free lunches. There's become this slight underbelly across founders that are equity paisa raise karte raho. There is no risk. You don't have to really repay it, right? No, not really. So every type of capital and investing or financing and funding has different forms. And so, yes, there is equity. You can part with equity when you need a lot of experimental capital. You're trying something new. You're building something early days. Take that form of capital, right? But then there are quasi-equity forms of capital where you're not basically giving back or return, sharing equity in the business, but there is a different structure. There is a different timeline, a different horizon of repayment, right? And within quasi-equity, there are so many multiple forms. So the second myth I want to bust is quasi-equity does not mean debt. See, somehow over the years, we have associated a negative notion with the word debt. वो लेते हैं debt लेते तो ऐसा लगता है यार, how will we repay? Debt ले लिया, will be debt burdened.
True.
Debt also comes in different forms. There can be a 3-5 year long-term debt or a very large capital that you take, right? But there is different forms of capital advances, shorter forms of working capital, revenue-based financing. These are just something that you take as a short-term borrowing, a short-term capital advance, and let your business as it grows in a disciplined manner repay.
Got it.
Right? So, ek baar to, if we've understood that there is equity and quasi-equity, and within quasi-equity, there are different forms of structured finance, different forms of capital I can raise and I have to repay based on different parameters. I think you start becoming a far more confident founder and saying, taking those traditional myths, yaar, wo 4 saal ka, 3 saal ka debt le liya, I want to let my business be debt free. Boss, you've taken equity money, that's also debt. You have to return.
Of course.
Right? So I'm a big proponent, and this didn't come to me overnight either. Right? But here I'm a big proponent of saying every business should absolutely explore, and as you do your business planning, right? Just look at for rent, fixed expenses. Yes, I might need some sort of longer term capital or equity capital. For direct expenses that fuel my revenue, I should have different kind of capital. And if you can orchestrate that well,
true,
you'll build a far more sustainable business, and you take away that question that you kept asking. That as a founder, do I need to dilute or not dilute? Right? It's not about that. Just be smart of what you're taking capital for, how you take that form of capital, and you take away from this whole notion of saying, did I dilute or not? You're just building value in your business. You're getting to your next stage of growth, and everything will fall in place.
Perfect. No, I think this puts a lot of it into perspective. And thanks for debunking a lot of myths over there as well. I think that definitely puts things into perspective as such.